Hello, everybody. So Lyle is not here yet, but he will be in just a moment. So he was rushing home from work, and as some of you may be aware and some may not be aware, Lyle's lovely wife Mel is due with their first child tomorrow. So she is all the way pregnant. And so far she's like, whatever, we're good. Like not a big deal right now. We're fine. So no apparently no baby is not coming at this exact moment, um but we'll see. So sometime in the next few days we can expect another Barnett. God help us all. Let me just tell you that right now. Wanted to give a shout out to everybody that is watching already. Thank you so much. We do appreciate it. Doug DeLay, hello. Mag, of course, in the house, hello. Niels, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody that's on board, if you're watching either on Facebook or on YouTube and you comment, then we can see all of that in one place right here. So we are calling this one the Grandpa's Edition. And the reason is pretty simple, actually. So Lyle's grandpa on his mother's side passed away just a few days ago. They just had the funeral actually yesterday. That's why we did not have our show yesterday. It has been a hectic week and a half or so, big time for Lyle and Mel and the whole family. Not only Lyle's grandfather, but obviously the other deal that some of you may not know is that Mel's dad was involved in a car accident, and he's okay. Bruce is okay, but his dog Reddick was in the car with him, and in the melee of getting out of the car or out of the truck after the crash, the dog jumped out and off he went, and has been gone for like almost a week. And so they been searching and searching and searching. The good news is that they have found him, and he is back home in a happy camper. So it was kind of crazy, but it's just been one of those weeks for sure. It has been a strange one. There is absolutely no doubt. And so, that's why we didn't do a show last week. Lyle was dealing with all of that as well. And it's just been, like I said, kind of crazy. So let me send Lyle the new link as well here, and we'll get rolling. I'm going to show you guys a couple of pictures here in a minute that you guys will dig. And then when Lyle gets on, we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of these. So, okay. Lyle has the pictures or the link. Sorry. Yes. So Justin Kreider, like all kinds of things going on. Yes, you are absolutely 100% right. It has just been nuts. My week has been kind of crazy as well, but nothing like that. So again, the dog is home and everybody is good. So that's a great thing. And Bruce is recovering. He broke his nose and some other stuff. And apparently a car came over on the wrong side of the road. Dude fell asleep or something and ran head on into him. So luckily, nobody died. So crazy, but not good. So yeah, like I said, yeah, just been kind of nuts. Lyle is on his way home, and so he will call in here in a few minutes. Speak of the devil, and the devil will come.
Oh yeah,
dude. I literally was just telling everybody how crazy your week and a half was. I told them about Bruce and the accident and the dog and you being gone. Like, wasn't it almost a week that the dog was gone?
Monday to Friday.
Yeah. So, but you found him, which is a whole other crazy story. So we can go into all that. But I don't even know if you got to see it. I have dubbed this the Grandpa edition of the show because I'm going to share photos of our grandpas as well. So hold on here.
So I usually listen I don't listen to the radio much just because
Right.
it's so full of commercials now, and I've gotten spoiled with Pandora and whatnot. Well, I have Amazon Music, but anyway, I got on today, and my AirPods had been dead, and I charged them today, and I put them in, and I pull on the interstate, and I click on my Amazon Music, and I just have it's like a my soundtrack, and it's anything that you've liked. It kind of pulls all these genres together and plays this huge mix. It's just easy if you're not looking for anything in particular and you just need music. And the first song that plays is "I Wish Grandpa's Had Never Died."
No,
the first one today, and
dude.
Like, okay.
And see, I think that song is awesome. Cole says that song's horrible, and says it makes him sad. And I'm like, dude, it's not. It's a great song. Like yes, but it's awesome. Yes, totally awesome. And speaking of grandpa, so I have your grandpa up on the screen.
Yep.
So I'm going to tell your grandpa story first, okay? Before you get to tell your grandpa story. So I never had met your grandpa. I knew I was going to meet him, but I had never met him. And you and I got in this thing and drove it to his 62 Impala, which he bought brand new, and drove it to the wedding venue so that you guys could, leave in it, as you exited the wedding. And I'm like, of course, in love, dude, it's Impala. Hello. And this thing runs mint, like it drives super nice. It's super nice. I mean, it's a really nice car. And we're in this thing and I'm like, wait a second, he bought it brand new. Like I didn't realize all of that part of it. And it's super cool. But your grandpa did give you one very specific instruction about you and I riding in this thing to the wedding. And what was that?
No spinning tars. Can't spin any tars. No burnouts. He doesn't believe in performance aftermarket upgrades of any sort, as you can tell. Fender skirts, same white wall tires. I mean, the man would go on like full missions to find white wall tires to go back on his cars and stuff. Like it should look today just as it did when he bought it off the showroom floor in 1962, and it does. Like, the interior is perfect. I mean, for the most part, to be 60, it's 60 years old now. 60-year-old paint, like I mean, it looks good.
It does. It's a great car. Well, and it's funny because I sat at the table with him and your grandma and your mom at the as far as sitting down to eat at the wedding. And I said something to him about the car being so nice. And he looked at me and he had this look on his face like, I don't know if I trust you or not. And asked, like, Lyle didn't drive it crazy or anything, like something like that, right? And I was like, no, not at all, And I swear he looked at me kind of like, I don't know if I should believe you because I've seen some of the shenanigans. Like I know he knows the dumb stuff we've done. So it's kind of hard to look at him and have him believe us.
Wes, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
It was awesome. Yeah.
So I was going to tell this story at the funeral yesterday.
Love you too, Wes.
We just didn't have the opportunity to do so. But I've never known my grandpa to drive anything, not erratic, but like I've never known him to put anything to the floorboard, like pedal to metal. No, sir. Like that just, he drove. There was tons of carbon buildup, I know, in every car he's ever owned. Cause we pulled out of the driveway, just So I
he drove like a grandpa before he was a grandpa.
He did. Well, he's always been a grandpa to me, right?
Well,
but I don't know how old I was. Maybe 12. I was definitely was nowhere near driving alone yet. And he took this thing to car shows. Like he had a spread of trophies that he won, and he would open the trunk and lay them all out, So we're headed to a car show in the little local Carthage, North Carolina. They have what's called the Buggy Festival. It's just a town festival type deal. They have it every year.
Right.
So me, my grandpa, and my neighbor that I grew up with, Zach, were in this thing. And we're going to the Buggy Festival. Zach and I went to run around and buy bullshit and eat candy, and my grandpa went to talk with the old men in their lawn chairs.
Right, of course.
And we're cruising, And there's this long straightaway by Strader Farms is the name of it. And it's, I mean, I went as fast as I've ever gone in any street legal vehicle down that road, like on the street, you know.
Yeah.
And we're cruising along, just typical, probably 50 or something, you know, it's 55. And this like 95 Honda Accord ducks out to pass us. And it's a woman driving, a man in the back seat with a child, right? Like a kid, like young in a car seat, you know, turned around, face backwards in a car seat. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm listening.
And the car gets right beside us, and he didn't say anything. He didn't know, oh, hell no, nothing. All of a sudden, that thing goes, boom, boom, you know, and we're take off, you know. And I look over, and the woman is like, what? The guys in the back seat, like, hell yeah, you know. And by the time, because she floored it too, you know, to pass us. So we kind of truck along because that thing's not a speed demon.
Right, right. Of course.
But we're trucking along beside it. And by the time we start to pull away, the woman is swatting in the back seat at her husband. And he is steady, just like, hell no. And we just pulled away from him. You know, that's the only time that I can remember that my grandpa ever floorboarded anything, you know, and it was, I mean, perfect. And he didn't, like, me and Zach are like,
what is going on here?
And he was just kind of cracked a little smile, you know, got her on out there. We was probably running 80 miles an hour or something. Next thing we know, he backs off some. We're running 55 or so again, you know. And I think the car actually ended up, you know, getting a good run and just passed us. And he didn't give a shit at that point.
Right, right.
But
exactly.
he flat just, as soon as they ducked out to pass us, he just, whoa, whoa, you know, that thing takes off. God, it was awesome.
Well, so along those lines, so this is my grandpa is right here, the guy standing by the driver's door, my grandma behind him, and this is just the only picture I could find in a hurry, but this is his 1950 Studebaker truck, and Lyle knows this thing. I've told him about this thing. So my grandpa also was the, you know, shit should be stock, like. Yep. He never modified anything except his motorhomes, right? So his whole deal was, my grandpa's name was Earl, and so his whole deal was that you left everything stock. He was a mechanic and built cars all his life, but it was always just make them run nice and be nice. Well, he calls me one time and says he's buying the Studebaker truck, and I asked him what for, and by the way, when he calls me, he's 75 or 6 years old. And he says he's buying a Studebaker truck. I ask him what for. He says he's going to build a hot rod. Well, I about have a heart attack because this old bastard's never built nothing cool like that. And not only that, he's always bitched at us about doing it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, wait, why would you do that shit? You know, I mean, it was hilarious. I'm like, what in the hell? So the old man builds the entire truck, every bit of this truck. So he shaves the rear, does the caddy tail lights. He paints it himself, never painted a car in his life. He does all the work on this thing except the finish welding. Like, I did all the finish welding. He tacked everything, but I did the finish welding because he's getting old and shaky, right? Otherwise, the only thing he didn't do was the interior on this truck. Now, keep in mind, 1950 Studebaker. He put a front clip out of an 89 or 90 Chevy pickup in it, including a 350 throttle body injected with a 700 R4. He put a Cadillac rear end in it, he put a 10-bolt in it with Cadillac disc brakes. Air ride, okay, it's not aired out on that picture, but it lays out. It full leather interior gauge, I mean, all of it, like from top to bottom. And then drove this damn thing all over the place. That's awesome. And it was awesome. And it just super, super fun, super cool. There were always those moments though, like he'd be like, I think I'm gonna make me a gas tank. I'm like, oh hell. You know, always something he was gonna make instead of spending $4, because even though he had all the money in the world, could have paid anybody to build this thing, wouldn't have mattered. But he was doing it himself. So he'd go, oh, I'm going to build me a fuel tank. I'm like, oh, Jesus, help me, Lord. So then randomly, swear to God, it'd be like Father's Day, Christmas, his birthday, whatever. Before he got a chance to start making whatever that was, we would just go, hey, look, we buy you a 16-gallon fuel cell. You know?
It's like, oh, yeah, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. He was excited as hell. I'm sure there was a part of him that was like, damn them, they don't want me making this. Although maybe it was the other way. Maybe it was, shit, I don't want to have to make a fuel tank, so I'm going to tell them I'm gonna, because they get me one. Right. I don't know. I never gave him enough credit for that. But yeah, that could have been it, let me tell you. But yeah, my grandpa, he never, I don't ever in my life remember him doing a burnout. His truck, I had to remind him every time we get to a car show when he pulled into a spot to lay it out. Cause I'm like, it's on air. And at the time I was driving my 56 Chevy station wagon all the time on air. So we'd go to shows together and pull up next to each other and park them. And you get the old man laying this thing out on its balls. You know what I mean? And everybody's like, what? Yeah. And it was cool. You know, It was fun. So yeah,
I'm pretty disappointed that you didn't call me to do the finish welding.
Yeah, I know. Well, saying. If I needed holes welded open, then I would have hired you.
If you don't have a plasma cutter, but you have a welder,
Lyle's your guy.
I'm your guy.
You are. If all you have to do, if you ever have decided like, God, if I just mark this hole and I could center punch it and no way, just mark the hole, hand Lyle the MIG welder, and just perfect hole.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you honestly, the one skill you have real good about that is usually you also get like a nice buildup of slag around it, which gives it some extra depth. If you're going to thread that hole, it'd be perfect.
That, and if you spill anything in the floorboard, it'll hold it in there, and then you can push it around where you need to get it. It won't just immediately drain out.
That's true. That is absolutely true.
Build up around the hole. I'm good.
Okay. So, Davey Dog says, sorry for your loss. Was that Chevy a 409? Loves the fender skirts and the spinner hubcaps.
Now that thing's got 327 in it.
Yeah.
So
no, 283. No, is it a
327?
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
So my grandpa, when he bought that thing, he wanted the SS and he ordered the SS, but the SS is not what came to the dealership. Miscommunication, whatever.
Right.
Instead of waiting on the SS, he took the base model that they sent and put SS emblems and tags all over it.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be an SS.
But he didn't care because he just cared about the look anyway.
Right. Well, that was their family car. Like I showed you the marks in the dash are where my mom was teething and she stood on the seat and bit the dashboard there. And there's still like it's a perfect bite mark in the dash, and that's what that's from, like that was their family car, I drove it. So I drove it to the funeral on yesterday, and it's got 70,000 miles on it.
I know.
That thing didn't. It's always been garage. It's all but perfect. It needs a tune up now.
But it's
it needs
awesome.
Vacuum. It just needs the upkeep side of maintenance done. But overall,
like vacuum hoses and a set of plug wires.
It needs carburetor gasket. It just needs the little stuff. But I drove it there and drove it home, and everything works. Like it's pretty cool.
So Ron Ward says, I'd much rather build my own piece of shit than break out the checkbook and buy something nice that's already built. You and my grandpa were exactly the same, Ron. So my dad brings up a point about the fuel cell. This is good. When my grandpa got the fuel cell, when I gave it to him, he didn't know that the foam inside was supposed to be there and was like, what the hell is all the foam in there? So he's trying to he started pulling it out and then he didn't know. So he's like, I don't know what to do with this. Why is there foam in it? Looking through the little hole. And I'm like, it's in there to keep the fuel from sloshing around. It's fine. It's supposed to be there. He was all prepared to take the big cap off and start pulling it out. I'm like, no, that's okay.
Yeah. Leave that alone.
Yeah. Oh, it was awesome. Oh, yes.
Right.
That was too funny. Billy Chase in the house. What's up? My dad in the house, of course. Matt Jacobs in the house. Barnalicious.
I was listening to Wes Buck's podcast earlier.
Yes, me too.
And they went in, to a pretty long. Actually, most of the show was more focused on No Prep Kings. And there's a couple things, 3 or 4 things I want to talk about that. The headline story right now, and something I think that is worth talking about is this whole deal surrounding Justin Swanstrom and the complete thrash that those guys put on to get that car back. Something I agree with Wes on, like I consider Justin a friend. I don't always agree with the things that come out of his mouth and the stuff that they post. However, what the effort that was made by that team to get that car. I mean, I don't know if you lived under a rock. If you're watching this show and you haven't seen the crash from No Prep Kings Maple Grove when Justin's car caught on fire and then he was T-boned and then he wrecked, Cameron Johnson made a post, I think today or yesterday, that.
What's up, Mel Bell?
Chad said, "What's up?"
Hey, can you see me?
Oh yeah, yeah, you're right on the screen. And we'll talk. Well, so anyway, Cameron Johnson Race Cars is who did the repair work to get him to New Hampshire, and it was 300 man hours,
right,
to get that thing back together, and they did it.
Yeah,
like we. So at Modern Racing,
in how many days?
Like 4.
Yeah.
Like we 911 and built him all new harnessing. Like it burnt all the harnessing up. We built at Modern Racing. Our wiring department worked all weekend long, and overnighted all new wiring for that thing. The chassis shop. ProChart. Everybody that made it happen. And he went to New Hampshire and it ran fairly well until they had another issue. Like I think they've blown 2 or 3 intakes off of that thing, at least 3 or 4, maybe 5. Yeah. He's had 6 Lexan windshields in that thing. This is the 6th one that we're putting in it. So it's back at the shop now getting more repair work done. Right. But like the effort that was made is, you cannot deny that it was just, I've never seen anything like that come together in 4 days, So the guys at Cameron Johnson, the whole Swanstrom camp, we got to be a part of that at Modern Racing. It was pretty cool. I'll give it to them. That was impressive, in my opinion.
I agree. And the only time I've ever seen anything like that is like, there have been a couple of instances in the past where pro stock guys crashed or whatever and did that. But you got to remember that those are millions of dollars a year, right, budget teams. And so totally a major deal, right? And that's not Jerry Haas race cars either, that has a crew of a jillion that we're working on that. So that's why I say that. Now, not that those guys aren't talented, but they just don't have the manpower that somebody like a Haas would have, let's say, right? So, that's a big deal. The thing that I said in the chat there during Wes's show was they had to come. Like, they had to come to Epping because the only way they could afford to have fixed the car was to immediately be out. If they waited 2 months to go out, they wouldn't have made the money back. But I guarantee you he sold twice as many shirts as he's ever sold at an NPK event because of the fact that he just blowed it up and lit it on fire and got run into and then crashed it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yep. So again, just purely from the financial side of things, they had to. They may not even have had that in their mind at the time. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, because I know me and you, we would have been the same way. Like, if this is possible to fix it, we're going to fix it. But dude, it's impressive. Like you said, I'm not a fan of all the Swanstrom stuff, but I give a major kudos for that. They did an amazing job. Now I know they blew it up or whatever, partway down there, and it tore up some more stuff, but it didn't crash. and now it's with you guys, right? You guys are doing a bunch of other stuff to it.
Yeah, we're we're repairing it and making some, just getting him ready to go to. They are in Hebron,
Yeah.
Ohio next week.
Yep.
So it'll be a quick little turnaround, and they'll be headed to Ohio.
Yeah, Hebron is that's National Trail Raceway.
Oh,
Columbus.
Okay.
It's Columbus. So okay, couple things before we get there, because I don't want to miss this question. Scott Malpass asked or said Ford, Chevy, and Hyundai have withdrawn from SEMA with ? Recession time ? So actually, I don't know about Hyundai, but it's Ford, Chevy, Toyota. I believe it is maybe Honda. There's several of them. And I'll tell you, quite frankly, I mean, as much as I love having GM there and all those things, really, there's not really much reason for them to be at the SEMA show. They are not the aftermarket. While they do have their crate engine packages and all of those things, which, technically fall into that. The truth is, and I'm going to sound like an old man right now, but the OEs have really only had a major presence at the SEMA show for the last 20 years. Like all the years before that, they weren't really there except for a couple of them. So it's relatively new. I mean, again, 20 years, but when you consider how long SEMA's been around, it's a big deal as far as their presence now, but it wasn't always. And I would argue that when Ford said, dude, this cost us too much money, we're going to bail out of this year, all the rest of them went, oh, thank God. Somebody blinked first and they're like going great, because they will show a more revenue for the year, exactly the amount of money they would have spent on SEMA. Like they don't make any money off of SEMA. They just don't. So Chevrolet doesn't need to be there to sell crate engines or anything else. Neither does Ford or anybody else. So that's my 2 cents. Obviously they just don't want to spend the money. So all of these car companies have taken a huge hit. While all of you guys, and I say you guys because I'm not one of them, have been making a bunch more money the last 2 years. The car companies have not. They have not been selling cars. They've had all these cars that they couldn't sell and everything else. So that's a ton of expense that these guys, are not getting to recover otherwise. So, but now Stan Waxberg is asking for what your thoughts are on the weight break for Turbo Pro Mod. And I should have pulled this up. I will pull up the new NHRA weight breaks so they added weight to everybody else and then took weight off.
They actually did not add weight to the nitrous cars like a report or two have said.
Oh no, just on the
the Pro Charger, the Pro Charge in particular. Yeah. They put 40 pounds on them, which will put them at SFI minimum or maximum. Excuse me. So the NHRA Pro Charged Pro Mods are at SFI max. So no, they can't get any heavier if they're going to try to slow them down anymore after that. It'll be something else, whether it's blower overdrive or something to do with engine RPM limit or rear gear. There'll be some other way they try to do it. This was just the most cost efficient way to try to reel in some parity here during the first half of the season. We're not 100% sure what the 25 pounds off of us is going to do. We're already fairly light, like we're going to be under 2,600 now at a minimum.
Right.
And to get the car that light, which I'm going to lose some of that weight myself. But it's really hard to get the balance of the car right when you start trying to take a much more weight off of it. And then the car just doesn't work, so they're trying to help us get through the first half of the racetrack quicker, which we've gotten a little better. But we didn't have enough to run with especially the Pro Charge cars. So, and
Yeah,
I don't
down
know
low.
what 40 pounds is going to do to them. It may slow them down just right. It may not. You may not see any effect. I mean, it's just tough to know. We've got to go out there and run and get some real data to figure that out. So,
Yeah,
uh,
because and the reason that you say you're not sure what it'll do, for you guys, is traditionally in racing series and Pro Mod included, um, uh, when the turbo cars all started showing up and whooping everybody's ass, then they started adding weight to them. And what they found out was the weight didn't really affect ET very much, because the cars, are so good at the, back half of the racetrack. So they just didn't find that the impact was as much as you thought, 40 pounds would be on one car, versus the turbo car. So it will be interesting to see. I mean, I think it might change things by a couple hundredths, down low, but I don't think it's going to get you, to be running 60 foots with the pro charger cars.
no, and as fast as we run out the back, we don't need
Right.
to go, or well, we can't. Like you, it's running it is the most difficult combination to run. They
Right.
are super finicky in the first 200 feet of the racetrack.
Right.
If we go 950 or so down low, yes, but it will not make it to 1.5. It will not make it a second and a half or a second into the run if we go.
Right.
It just will not make the trip. You can't, because you got to hit these things hard, get the tire moving, get the vehicle moving, get some vehicle speed, and then just pause everything. You got to just knock its dick in the dirt for a second to let the tire kind of catch up. And then you roll with a blower car, at least you just roll the timing back in it and it takes off. Well, you pull timing out of a turbo car and the boost spikes, right? And
Right.
you just can't run it like that. Like people have tried.
Yeah.
The best
It
of the
just doesn't
business
work the same.
have
Yeah.
ran this combination, and if they go 960 down low, it will not make it to 1 second. Like you just can't, or 1.2 or so. You just can't do it. So they're trying to help us just get to the eighth mile quicker. It's really not that 25 isn't really going to do much out the back, but we'll see. It may not help us at all. The balance of the car may be so screwed up that we have to go back to to a 2615 minimum, which we run the car about. We cross the scales at 2620 or 25 most of the time. We may have to go back to going to the line at 2640 just to get the car to move. So we don't know.
And if you haven't read the rule or seen the parity adjustment, as they call it, here it is on the screen. So I'll read it to you. Based on NHRA Pro Mod Drag Racing Series performance numbers from the first 3 races of 2022, the NHRA Technical Department is reducing the minimum weight of turbo-assisted entries from 2615 to 2,590 pounds, and increasing the minimum weight of the centrifugal supercharged entries or in tires from 2735 to 2775, obviously adding 40 pounds. All other minimum weights will remain the same. This rule change will go into effect immediately. NHRA reserves the right in the future to make additional rules changes to control performance and maintain parity in the category. Now, where people were confused about the weight adjustment for nitrous, I think, is that there was an old parity adjustment where the nitrous cars also got weight. But that was last year or year before, whatever. So not now. So as is always good and bad. The internet never forgets anything, but also sometimes it's hard to see what the date is. So that was why. But yeah. I am with you. I don't believe I think it will be a good help, and I think it's great, and appreciate that they're looking at it. But I'm not so sure that the weight added to the Pro Charge car is going to do much to it either. I don't know. I mean, maybe it will. I mean, it is 40 pounds. I mean, it's not 10, so maybe it'll do more than I think. But as you just pointed out, it also puts them at the weight limit for the SFI rating of Pro Mod chassis. And so for those of you that are out there going, the SFI rating, whether it's a 35.3 chassis or 33.3 chassis or whatever, right? There's all these different SFI ratings. There are maximum weights for each of those ratings. And that's because if the car weighed 4,000 pounds versus a 2,500 pound car, then the tubing requirements clearly are going to be different where they have to be. So NHRA cannot add any more weight to the Pro Chargers at this point. Like, that's going to be it.
Yep.
So in that scenario, if they wanted to make other changes, they literally would have to go to gear ratio in the drive assemblies on them. And that is a slippery slope. So there is currently no RPM limitation in Pro Mod, correct? Like, they don't have an RPM limit like in Top Fuel where they're not allowed, or Pro Stock.
We did.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was still in effect or
we
not.
We did, and I can't remember if they pulled that back or not.
Yeah, I don't know. And because if there isn't an RPM limit, then those guys will just start spinning the things harder.
There was for sure when they went to they spec'd us a gear and a rev limiter, and I know that it was they didn't G-haul, and then there was some changes made, and honestly I can't remember if they took that back or not. We'd have to go look. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Something earlier, I was switching gears a little bit. We've started seeing this influx of radial racers into No Prep Kings. And I think there's going to be a lot more of that to come, just because, well, there are some things you and I know that are going on in No Prep Kings that we get to be a part of at some point. And I think it's going to cause this huge influx of radial racers. And, I mean, a lot. Like, I think it's going to be big. But
I agree.
Manny Bujinga, however you say his last name.
Yeah.
Who's a Pro 275, X275 standout, took Fred over, which is the name of his car, Red Fred, over into No Prep Kings, which that car originally was built for No Prep. And before they ever ran it in No Prep, they switched gears, put it on a 275, went radial racing. And now Manny is running it in No Prep Kings in the Futures class. Well, he went to his first race at Maple Grove and won. He went to his second race at New Hampshire and won again. He is in the Futures right now, and I'm not so sure that you will see him in the Invitational. And there are, people believe that they've kind of got their little niche of drivers, and they don't want anybody to come in there and poop in the soup bowl. Right. But and I don't know the answer to that. I have my own theories, but hopefully we're going to get to be a part of some of that soon. So I don't want to stink the pot up too much, but
well, let me say something on that. So people that are not, if you haven't been to an NPK event, then you go, what's the Futures? Like, I don't know, what's that? Well, it started out, my understanding, from people I know that have started in it. My understanding was that it was hey, if you think you're good enough to be on No Prep Kings and have a car and you want to put up some money and come do this, come on down. We're going to use it as an audition kind of thing, right? Well, then there were some people that did really well in that, who then didn't get an invite, who were, kind of butthurt about that. So then it started all this stink about, what is the, there's favorites, there's this, there's that. Well, the one thing that I think everybody forgets about No Prep Kings is, while we are racers and we care about the racing, the people that actually put on No Prep Kings don't give a shit about racing. They are there to put on a TV show, right? And they want to put on an entertainment, an entertaining TV show and an entertaining live event for the spectators that come to watch. So So there are going to be times, and I'm not saying they do this all the time, but I'm going to say that there are going to be times where they choose somebody because it's better TV, right? And that is what it is. That's okay. It's their sandbox. They get to do what they want to do in it.
At the end of the day, it's entertainment,
Yes, 100%. And they're doing what we have said some of the other drag racing isn't doing right, which is making sure the entertainment is good, right? So it's important. And that doesn't mean that people can't go and have a great time and run and win and still be making headlines and all those things.
I've had an awesome time at every one of those that I've went to. Now, we've been super successful. I've been to every one I've been to the final, and I've won all but one.
Right.
But we've always had a great time. Like even though we know we're a field filler, we've gone, they, include us in the big text message deal, and we're a part, like, it's good. Like, they've got somebody that runs the lanes. I mean, it's a good show. They talk to people, they're interactive with the crowd. The crowd is super, involved and interested in what's going on and paying attention.
Yeah.
Like, it's, there's not all this, well, the future, the invitational's over and the whole stands clear out and go. Like,
no,
it's good. Like, I think that what they do is really good.
I do too. And I mean, I'm the guy that thinks that, that a lot of places are doing it wrong. And I've been critical of NPK on certain things. But to be honest with you, they've pretty well fixed all those things. And, when the year before last, whatever it was, when, Dad and Cole and I did all the, work in the pits on the Cadillac with Larry, we had a great time at that race. I mean, and the thing about it is that's funny, and this, like, I go walking up on the starting line to check the racetrack before we're getting ready to run. And, and yes, all the people that you expect to see on the starting line, because they're all part of the 405 crew and all of that, are there. But there's also a bunch of other racers that people now are used to seeing there, but weren't at first. I mean, there's a ton of the people that we're at all kinds of other events with there. And everybody was laughing and having a good time and enjoying the show. And it was cool. And I mean, I have to say, when I was there, I think they're doing this more and more often now, but when we were there, it was the first time, but somebody, I can't remember, it was Chuck. I can't remember who decided to do this, but they decided to start collecting money from everybody on the starting line. And they rolled it up in a t-shirt and put it in the t-shirt cannon and shot it off to somebody. Right. And they were saying it has to go to a kid, right? No adults can catch this thing or whatever. Well, dude, there was like $1,000 in cash in this thing because, because literally, like, Sean, like, pulls out a thing. He's like, here's $100, like, Chuck was like, here's $100. Everybody was throwing in, all the normal Street Outlaws guys threw in, $50, $75, $100 or whatever. It was cool. Your dad says it will be interesting to see how they handle all of the badasses that are coming to the Futures race, because they probably don't want some of those guys beating up on their stars.
Well,
yeah,
and that's the point of having the Futures, is they can regulate who comes in and out, and I'm not saying that's what they do. I'm not saying that it's, it's like a good guys club and you only get in if we say you get in, but that is how it is. Like,
yes,
it's their show. Whoever they want in is going to get in. And if they don't want you in, you're not getting in. And
they easily, if the Futures became so big and with such badass people in it, but those people aren't participating on the Street Outlaws side of things, then they easily can just change the name of it, right? So the No Prep Kings class is still going to be all the Street Outlaws, and then the other one, they can call it something else. You know what I mean? With no insinuation that you may or may not join the other group. You know what I mean? Yeah. That wouldn't be hard to do if they want to. and they're packing the house, man. They're
Oh,
doing good. What are the?
well,
I don't remember what the purse is for the futures. Do you? It's money, but it's not a ton of money, but it's still
yeah,
something,
it
you
may
know.
be 7,500 or 10 grand or something.
Yeah,
I know
maybe
that
that. Yeah,
small tire was 2,500 on Friday night, 7,500 on Saturday for a total of 10. And this
right.
year it's 100% payback on Friday night. So like before it was 2,500. Don't matter if it was 100 cars
Oh, right,
or 2 cars,
right,
so if there was 100 cars and you paid $100 entry fee, well, you were getting
right.
shorted, but that's just the way it was. Well, this year it's 100% payback on Friday night. So if you get, if you get 25 cars, and you've got your $2,500 purse. But I mean, in Virginia, I think there were 22 on Friday night, and
Right.
we got down to the final, and they had to call it because of the curfew. But
Right.
On Saturday, it's a guaranteed 5,000. So the money's not quite as good this year, but I mean, everything's
Right.
tight and different, and you got to do what you got to do, and the show
Oh,
goes
yeah.
on. But it's still 40,000 to win the invitational. But I can't remember how much the futures. And then they also have like an outlaw big tire class, which is
That's
different
right.
from the futures. It's kind of like run what you brung. It doesn't
Right.
matter what it is, as long as it's got doors.
Yep.
And then they have like a daily driver, and they have 7.0 index, and
Yep.
they've got some other stuff. But I think that the futures class, and I think small tire 2 will end up being a capped deal before long, because I think it's going to get so big here in the future that they're only going to allow. It'll be the same. It'll be almost the same as the invitational, but it will be a first come first serve. Like the top 10 in the points will get a guaranteed spot.
Right.
And then they'll just open the rest up to whoever first come first serve, because I literally think it's going to get that big.
So your dad says he was surprised how many people were shocked by how well Manny did. I mean, you took a Proline shop car with data from half a dozen of the same combos already running NPK and Miller tuning it, that you should expect this. And I agree with him. I mean, that team's no slouch. It's not like they went, oh, I wonder if we can make it with this.
Yeah,
They're badass.
One thing you've got to, and I think us as racers don't really get it, but one thing I've learned is that I don't want to call them generic, but your typical is, I guess, a good way to put it. Your typical NPK fan is not a drag racing fan.
No.
They watch the Discovery Channel.
Correct.
And they have invested in a personality that is a racer, and that is why they come to watch No Prep Kings. Now, they also follow all of these guys on social media.
Yeah.
And I think the surprise that Manny did so well was really from that group, and that
because they didn't know him already.
Like, Manny, he sounds like an IndyCar driver, and a little red Mustang. They just don't understand.
Right.
I'm not going to say I was surprised, but I really, no matter who you are, if you take a Pro 275 car, convert it, go test like once, and then take it to the racetrack, especially in something like that, it's not, I don't just necessarily expect them to go out there and whip ass all over the place. Manny's a good driver. Like Mag said, Jamie Miller could put a stick horse in the winter. I agree.
Yes.
And like, he's literally one of the best. I mean, he has just absolutely whipped our ass in NHRA Pro Mod with Chris Thorne's car this year. Like, they've got like 100-point lead. I mean, it's ridiculous, but that Proline crew, Steve Petty leads the charge over there in the tuning department, one of the best. Got Jamie Miller. They feed off of each other. They share data. They've got a good thing going over there, and like Dad said, they've got a turnkey package that you can buy, stick it in your car, and they have a tune-up that will get you right in the hunt if your chassis is good and you got the right setup and the right parts to go behind it. So, yes, I agree. But there's a different fan base, totally different fan base that follows that than any other form of drag racing, NHRA drag racing included. Like, they are a different breed.
I would say that if you took the crowd that is, NPK fans, right? They're normal attendees at an event and all of that. I would say being generous, probably 20% of them are drag racing fans. I think it's probably lower. It's probably more like 10%, right? And the only reason that we follow it is that we're not actually following the whole series. We're following the racers we know, you know what I mean? Because we know them. It's that kind of deal, you know? So Brent Sansucci says that he loves you. And I'm like, what about me? I mean, Jesus, I'm right here, dude. I'm right here. I'm the guy looking at it and putting it up on the screen. I mean, seriously.
He's going to follow that up with some bacon reference or something.
I know. Okay, so what was the other thing I was gonna say? Blah blah blah. Oh, Mag says it's wrestling on wheels. I don't know that it's that bad, but yes.
It will here recently with all the fighting and the whatnot that's going on. You know, that it's at first I was like, man, this is not good for drag racing. Like, this is bad, but dude, that's all people are talking about. And like, I guess any publicity is good. I didn't think that was going to be good, but I mean, it has got everybody talking about it, and I guess it is what it is. So, but I agree to that. It is like the WWE.
Well, but here's the thing. I think that when you look at all of the entertainment that we have that revolves around cars, right? Whether it's NPK or NHRA drag racing or Midwest Pro Mod or what, any of the other, all the other series, right? Whether they're live streamed or on TV. And then you look at all of the characters that are all on YouTube that either race part-time or full-time or whatever. I think that No Prep Kings is still way up higher on that list as far as being good for motorsports in general, in comparison to a lot of the other things down below. I think there are plenty of people that are on social media and YouTube and what have you, and on TV, who are not good in the long run for motorsports. But when NPK rolls into an event or into a racetrack, they roll into the racetrack and they are paying real money to rent that racetrack. So that racetrack is making good money. Typically, the racetrack also has their own concessions and that stuff that they're getting, you know, a bunch out of. So they end up getting, you know, a lot of benefit for your racetrack out of it. And so, and with any luck, somebody comes to that NPK race, you know, at wherever, Ennis, right? They come here to Ennis. They've never been to a race at Ennis. They only come for NPK, but then they hear about the Stampede of Speed or one of these other events that's going on and go, man, maybe you should go out there. We had a great time when we were there last time. Let's go out there, right? And maybe racetracks will do what Ennis is doing. Like Ennis is doing the Stampede of Speed again this year. Last year, everybody said they were crazy. It would never work. It was literally 2 whole weeks of racing, okay, and events. They had a huge concert there and a bunch of stuff, and it was off the hook. And they made a ton of money. It was super cool. It was bookended. Like the first weekend was a big race, then races all week, and then the end was the NHRA national event where you won your first, you know.
This guy.
I know, that big boy right there.
I was looking to see if it said Stampede of Speed on it, but the banner, I got the winner circle banner.
Yeah.
And it does, but it would wrap all the way around the portage on here like twice.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah,
Lyle's garage is we little bit. That Impala ain't fitting no way, no how in that garage.
Nope.
I mean, if it was empty, it wouldn't fit in that garage.
It'd be close, but I don't think so.
Okay, hold on. Blah blah blah.
Well,
yes. So your dad says, yeah, a lot of the fans that came looking for Lyle at NPK were because they'd seen him on Netflix and didn't even know he ran an NHRA. And the funny thing about that is the number of people that walk up to you or me or both of us together and know beer money or fastest car, and that's the only reason they came, right, is insane to me.
Mm-hmm.
It blows me away, and I love it. It's awesome, and it's so cool to get to talk to people, and because they love the stories behind what we did and all of that. But it's true. Like, there's different reasons why people come to different events, and we can't forget that,
Mm-hmm.
So if an NPK guy ends up at an NHRA Pro Mod race, or Ennis's Stampede of Speed, or some small tire, shootout that they wouldn't otherwise have gone to, that's a win. You cannot argue with that.
Yeah, I mean, at least 75 to 80% of the people that came by the pit, I mean, I sold the most T-shirts I've ever sold at the MPK event at Virginia Motorsports Park, and I bet 75 to 80% of the people that came by there had no idea I raced anything but beer money. Like, they saw me on Netflix, and that's all that they knew us from, which I mean, that is cool, and I appreciate those, the Netflix folks for doing such a good job with that show, and then allowing us to just run with it, because it obviously was a huge part of our social media outbreak, but it got us to where we are for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And it is funny because literally at the event in Charlotte, a few weeks ago, I was on the scooter or the golf cart. No, I was in the golf cart at one point, hauling the mail through the thing. Oh, to go pick up Dan Parker. And I was going through the middle of the pits and literally like slowed down to wait for this group of people to cross in front of me. And this lady looked and she was like, "Oh, no, you go." And I'm like, "No, I'm in. Go ahead. You guys are fine." Like, I mean, I was waiting, I didn't honk at him and get him out of the way or anything. And her husband turns and looks and goes, "You're from Fastest Car. Wait. And beer money, is Lyle here?" And I'm like, I said, "Yeah, over in our pit spot." And he's like, "You're racing beer money here?" I said, No, Lyle's running the Pro Mod. He's like, he drives a Pro Mod. I mean, literally, like you said, no clue whatsoever about the Pro Mod car. So, and there, it goes both ways. There are people that know the Pro Mod car and don't have a clue about beer money. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's,
and there are folks that know me for driving the tooth jerker, right? Like,
yes.
And they know about beer money and stuff now, but like, that's what when they became a fan or when they got to know me, that's what I was driving at the time, so, but,
because that car and you, after the fire, like, you and the car, like, climbed up out of the ashes, so to speak. Yeah, I mean, no pun intended. Yeah, but that was the deal. I mean, the car got crazy. Like, people are like, "Holy crap! How is this leaf spring car going this fast?"
Right.
And Digby's like, "Hell yeah!" Because I'm feeding him good brisket. That's why.
Right.
By the way, if we don't go, I know I'm fat and I need to lose weight, but for the love of God, can we go racing so we can get some Digby barbecue? That bastard too right now is on vacation. And he's posting up all the food, which is awesome. But
we should just, Mag, I'll send you a message in the WhatsApp when we get off, and maybe you can convince Digby to cook us up a bunch of food, and then drag him.
Oh, to an event.
Well, the one in like a couple weeks.
Yes.
We can't talk about that yet.
Yeah. Yes, because that's not that far from them.
No, it's not.
Oh, dude.
But that is all hinging on. So
I know
mine and Melissa's, the due date for our kid is in
tomorrow,
like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yes, tomorrow. But we haven't really progressed very far enough that we're not having a kid tomorrow is where I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So
Friday, you say that.
I hope and pray to God, like, bring him on, because she's miserable. She's already not sleeping, so that's not going to change. We're just going to continue to not sleep. But he is being a little stubborn, so we're going to we go to the doctor Friday if we haven't had him yet, and they're going to schedule to induce her, and then so we'll probably have a baby next week.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like we're gonna have one this week, but you never know. Things could change.
Oh yeah.
And I know there are ways to speed that up. I know.
Okay, I was just gonna say, because I mean, and some of them are awesome.
Yes.
Okay, so Brent is asking how he says, since he has a beard, meow, how do I get on this show? So Brent, we are going to we're gonna invite you on the show. Like maybe next week you can come on the show. We're gonna get, actually, I've already been thinking about this and I just didn't have you on my thought process, Brent. So send me a message on Facebook, dude. Send me a messenger. But I have a whole group of people I want on the show for next week, because I'm kind of figuring that there may be a new Barnett in the house. So
probably will. Well,
yeah,
I hope
he's
there's
showing
one
him off for the first time.
Yeah, probably shitting on me.
Yeah, little Nash, dude.
Yeah, well,
I cannot wait for the video of you trying not to puke while changing his shitty diaper.
Did you see Mike's comment?
Which is the highlight? Do you know that?
Fuck you, Mike.
Oh man. Oh, I'm sorry, people. If you're not in the loop, if there's just a whole bunch of, whenever you break something, whenever anybody breaks anything, he Barnetted it. But when a Barnett breaks something, dude, Barnetted it. I mean,
Yeah.
Done.
Wrecked
like the ring and pinion in the Pro Mod in
Sheldon.
in Charlotte, Barnetted it. I mean, all the teeth gone off the pinion.
I'm proud of that one.
Like you put it in a lathe. I mean, it was
not good.
Oh God.
Well, speaking of that, I'm gonna
yes, it's time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 8:27.
For good.
Okay, but I cannot wait for this either. This one is great. Brent, you are so right. Uncle Brent says, I cannot wait till he pisses on you.
Yeah, well, when he does, the next race I see you at, I'm gonna piss on you.
I love it. Scott Malpass asking, any more alternative fuel shows, Chad? Yes. The response to the EV show we did, and then the hydrogen fuel, not fuel cell, but hydrogen fuel one was awesome. And so we are going to be talking about some more cool new technologies and what have you. Just for those of you that don't know, actually some really, really big news with regards to batteries for electric vehicles, and also a giant new plant for making hydrogen that is opening. So yeah, bunch of cool stuff. But we are, tomorrow night, McTaggart and I will be live for Power Shift. I'm not 100% sure on all the stuff we're going to talk about tomorrow night, but it'll be entertaining. So join us. Lyle is going to be on baby duty, so you're not allowed to go more than like 2 hours away from home. Although yes. Mel did try and send you off racing last weekend.
Yeah, and if the doc says he's not close, I may go off racing somewhere Saturday.
Yeah, why not? What is Saturday? Oh,
I was waiting for gunshot through the floor, you know. There's some stuff going on, and some that's semi-local, but
yeah,
that's probably pushing it. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly. Don't mean you can't take them to the races the day after.
That's a fact. Right in the motorhome.
If he did come tomorrow, you could have him at the races on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Why not? It'll be fine. Did you get any little earmuffs for him yet?
Oh yeah, we got all kinds of shit.
Dude, Dave Despain in the house. What is up, Dave?
What's up, man?
Love it. Yeah, so we definitely can hearing proof the kid. It'll be fine. Yeah, who, by the way, does love being on the starting line at the drag strip, because a couple weeks ago, Mel was like, oh yeah, the car goes, and he gets all moving around in there.
Yeah.
So
I told her that was he was in there shifting.
Oh yeah, exactly. No, I know Dave Despain, not the Dave Despain you're thinking of. Oh, that's awesome. All right. Brent's got all kinds of fun stories, I'm sure.
Sure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we do appreciate it. Thanks for joining us for the Grandpa edition again. Lyle, so sorry about your grandpa, but I'm glad we got to share
good,
some
man.
grandpa stories today. That's good.
Yep.
So to everybody out there, thank you for tuning in. Seriously, we appreciate it. And
Thanks
we'll
to the
be
guys
back.
at Motion.
Yes, of
Thanks
course.
to the
And
guys at
MacFab
MacFab.
Beadlogs. We couldn't do it without him. Wouldn't want to do it without him, I should say.
Wouldn't want to.
Yeah. If you need, dude, and if you're not following MacFab on Facebook, then you're missing out on rad stuff.
Yeah.
When there's like a set of dish mags, like kidney bean mags that are now beadlock, rad. Okay. Hello, in my opinion, the finest setup, Convo Pros and a beadlock, right? If you were Doug Cook, you'd say no, it has to be MacFab beadlocks on his MTs, but
Yes.
it's okay. We can agree to disagree. The good news about me and him not liking the same wheels is I don't have as much money as he does. So if he liked my kind, I'd never get a set again.
That's exactly right.
Right?
Buy 'em all.
Exactly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much again. We are going to head on out. You guys enjoy your week, and we will see you tomorrow night.
Later.